Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and when we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And in today's episode, the topic is the mysterious thing the Clippers need to be aware of going into these playoffs. So that's the topic I want to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also, make sure you check out Dreamers Pro Max, our online sports community, a place where you can go and start basketball discussions, chat live during games, which we'll be doing during the playoffs, and so many other cool things. If you guys are interested in that, be sure to check that out. We have that linked in the description below and get 7 days of access. And also, while you're at it, make sure you go ahead and click the join button to join the channel to receive loyalty badges. So whenever you leave a comment, you stand out, especially when we go live. Anyway, so let me get through this. To this topic here. So first of all, saw the game yesterday between the Lakers and the the Lakers and the Golden State Warriors, and some of the content that I have kind of in this topic, that game kind of prompted some of the things that I want to talk about. So anyway, let's get to the Clippers. So the Clippers this season have proven that they can be one of the best teams in the NBA. Certainly one of the best teams in the Western Conference at the very least, right? The Western Conference is loaded, and usually the Western Conference is always loaded. It's always been the tougher conference. If you look at the last 20 championships, 14 of them came from the Western Conference. So I don't even think it's close when we talk about which conference is tougher. The West is always a gauntlet every single year. You saw what happened to the Lakers. They dealt with some injuries. They went from the number 1 seed all the way down to the 7. That's what happens when you slip in the Western Conference. It's a very, very tough conference to be in. And the Clippers are facing tough competition night in and night out. Because remember, in the West, you're going to be playing teams 4 times. You're going to be playing teams in the Western Conference 4 times, in a season. But this year, they had a situation where some teams only played each other 3 times. So this is the record of the Clippers against some of the best teams in the Western Conference this year. They played the Lakers 3 times. They're 3-0 against the Lakers. They're 2-1 against the Phoenix Suns, who are the number 2 seed in the playoffs, who are going to be facing the Lakers in round 1. They're 2-1 against the Mavericks, who the Clippers are going to be facing in round 1, a rematch from round 1 last year. Some people have picked the Mavs to come out victorious in that series. Then they're 3-0 against the Blazers. The Blazers that some people felt that the Clippers are trying to avoid in the first round. They're 3-0 against them. And they're 1-2 against the Denver Nuggets. Now, I think the Clippers, for whatever reason, have a very challenging time beating that Denver Nuggets team. I think a lot of it originates from what Nikola Jokic is able to do and how he affects the game. And some of the personnel that the Clippers just have a more difficult time dealing with him for whatever reason. Now, this summer, they went out and got some pieces that they felt that, listen, this guy can help us. They went and got Serge Ibaka, replaced him with Montrezl Harrell, a bigger body, stretch the floor, can play defense. So they're going to have him, and they also picked up DeMarcus Cousins. So they have this 3-headed kind of monster in the post that they can really use. That they can use in case they go up against the Lakers, where they face, for example, if they face Anthony Davis, they definitely have enough size to throw at AD. A lot of guys that can play physical, especially DeMarcus Cousins. Or if they go against the Denver Nuggets, so the Clippers really built out a championship roster this season, and that's the reason why Kawhi Leonard feels very confident with the team that they were able to put together. They're still the number 1 3-point shooting team in the NBA this season. I think they broke the record for free throw shooting percentage as a team all time. So they, kudos to them to do that. I think they're top 5 offense, or at least top 6 offense, but I'm sure they're top 5 offense and a top 10 defense. Now, their defense slipped towards the end of the season, but that's understandable. When you take out your best players, especially your best defenders, your defense is going to slip. Same thing they asked the coach of the Lakers, Frank Vogel. They said your offense has been a little bit, inconsistent. And he says, yeah, when you take out LeBron and these guys and AD and they're missing game, obviously the offense is going to struggle a little bit. But however, they've been a very good defensive. They've been a good defensive and offensive team. Usually, early in the season, their defense was slipping, but they were able to pick it up. They were able to pick it up this season. But there's one thing that I do believe that's not going to work in the favor for the Clippers this season. There's one thing that I feel like this is something that's going to work against them, and that's going to be foul calls or a lack thereof. I don't think the Clippers this year are going to get the benefit of the doubt from the referees, right? This is something that Kawhi Leonard has complained about, something Paul George has complained about. We already did a video explaining the metrics of how Paul George just gets less calls for whatever reason than other people when he's attacking the basket at the same rate as others, and he gets less calls. For whatever reason, that's the case, right? We've done videos on this where we explain this in depth, and we went into the advanced analytics to explain this. So there is a fact to the matter that Paul George does not get the benefit of the doubt Same situation with Kawhi Leonard. So recently I was listening to Tyronn Lue after one of the practices, ramping up for the playoffs, and he asked him about that, right? So before I go too far, I want you guys to take a listen to what Tyronn Lue had to say about this specific issue that I'm bringing up right here. So take a listen to that soundbite.
Good. When it comes to physicality, something that you've kind of harped on often this season, you've been unhappy with the team when they haven't displayed the appropriate level of toughness or physicality. And for last year's Mavericks, I think the takeaway for a lot of folks was they didn't have a certain level of toughness or physicality needed to win that playoff series. And they're going to come out trying to establish that, or at least test that from you. So how do you prepare your team to get ready for not retaliation, but knowing that they're trying to up the ante the second time around?
Well, for me, I think, our team, our mindset, just playing through the officiating. There's going to be some tough calls. There's going to be some physicality. You're not going to get every foul call. And that has to be our mindset, and with them bringing the physicality, we invite that. We want to do the same thing. So we're not going to shy away from it, just because they talk about they want to play physical or be physical. We're going to have the same approach. So we're going to be ready for that. So the biggest thing for us is just staying composed, keeping our composure, and playing through the officiating if we don't get calls.
Now, in that sound, in that audio, Tyronn Lue says, "Listen, we need to be able to play through the lack of calls that we're going to go through, that we're going to experience these playoffs, right?" And I think the person that usually gets affected the most due to a lack of calls at the free throw line is Paul George. Paul George is the guy that whenever he's not getting calls, especially when he's attacking the rim, getting fouled, not getting calls, it's evident. Everybody can see it, but the referees are swallowing the whistle. He's the guy that gets affected the most. You can see once he starts not getting calls, he starts drifting further and further away from the basket. He starts attempting more threes to try to compensate for the buckets that he's missing at the rim. He's the guy that really gets affected by it. And basically, what I think Tyronn Lue is probably, or has already hammered down to the team, is that, listen, you guys are going to have to play through this. Plain and simple. You guys are not going to get the benefit of the doubt. It's just that simple. As I said, we already did the numbers. So the people that feel, oh, you can play, go look at the numbers. Very simple. Kwame Brown, to bring him up for a second, address these type of people that they don't speak to the facts. They speak to their own facts and their own emotions. What I'm saying is a fact. Go look up the numbers. We did a video on it, right? This guy doesn't get the benefit of the doubt. So he is going to be the guy that needs to be able to play through it. I think Kawhi Leonard is tougher, has a tougher mind to be able to play through those type of things. But Paul George is the guy that's going to need to be able to deal with it. I think of a player that my favorite player of all time, Kobe Bryant, when he was in the playoffs and he was playing against guys that were trying to injure him. Like, I think it was Delonte West or Dante Jones. I think Dante Jones, one of these guys, he played with the Denver Nuggets. And he was clearly trying to take Kobe out of that series. Go watch the replay. Go watch the highlights of those series. There's series where Kobe would go up for a shot, he would push him in the air. There's series where Kobe would try to go up for a jump shot, and he'd be walking under his feet so he can land on his ankle. So many of these type of things happen, right? But what I was surprised about, I never heard Kobe Bryant complain about it. Kobe played through it. He knew that this is what they were trying to do. It was evident as hell that that's exactly what this guy was trying to do. He was trying to injure him. And Kobe just played through it. I was astonished, really, to see that, how he just was able to block it out and was like, I understand this is what you're doing. I'm not going to complain about it. Instead, I'm just going to show you that I can't be stopped, and I'm just going to give it to you. And Kobe gave it to them. Beat them both times. Beat the Denver Nuggets both times they faced him in back-to-back playoff series, and he let them know what's what. He let them know that I'm Kobe Bryant, and there's nothing you can do with me. I think Paul George needs to have that type of mentality. Paul George this year, his brain, his mental focus needs to be on another level. There are a lot of guys who are going to be doubting him. A lot of people waiting for him to fail. So I think Paul George is the guy that really needs to have his head on his shoulders, really tight. I think Rondo, somebody we don't talk about enough, I think Rondo's going to be able to help him as far as putting him in his spots, helping him get easy baskets, but also somebody that can talk to him on the floor. Because I believe Rondo is one of these type of players that's extremely competitive, believes that when he's on the floor, he deserves to be on the floor, especially in playoff games. And I think he's going to be in the air of Paul George. I think Serge is also going to be in the air of Paul George. These are guys that he didn't have. with him before, right? These are guys that have already been to the mountaintop, won a championship already. He's going to have these type of guys in the foxhole with him. So I think he's going to need some help. He's going to be one of those guys, because I know he's going to be affected by it, because I've seen it happen to him all season long. So I think that this is something that the Clippers need to be aware of, because trust me, from what I've seen, there's some funny things. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna leave it at that. That the Clippers are gonna need to be able to deal with, right? Something it's quite evident to everyone. So for me, I think it's something they need to be focused on. I think it's something that they've already addressed in the locker room. Otherwise, why would the coach himself bring it up in a soundbite? So these are some of my thoughts and opinion on this. So what I want to know from you guys is, number one, what do you think about this? Do you think it's going to be an issue? And do you think that these guys are going to be able to deal with it mentally? So whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamers Pro. Wishing you guys an amazing day. Catch you guys on the next episode.